Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, excuse me, Sonny the Songfather, Grosso, podcast number whatever it is. Today is Tuesday, 10/13, thus the sirens, because 10/13 throughout the country, sometimes throughout the world, is a radio code for officer in trouble. And every time I hear the phrase 10/13 and I think about it, I go all the way back to 1972. When a call came into New York City Police Department for a 10/13 at a mosque up in Harlem. And when they got there, Officer Phil Cardillo and his partner tried to gain entry into the mosque where the call came in. And after some hemming and hawing and banging and knocking, they finally gained entrance. And once they got inside, there was a massive beating of these two officers, and actually three, Navarro also. And they ripped Phil Cardillo's gun from his holster and killed him with it. And it led into unbelievable riots, and my father was there, and he got knocked around, and his partner at the time, Randy Jurgensen, was on the front page of the Daily News. And he had been hit on the head with a brick thrown off the roof, blood coming down his face. And, many people have called that one, if not the biggest, one of the biggest black marks against the NYPD. And I beg to differ on that, because that was not a mark against the NYPD. That was a mark against the people in charge of the NYPD. Ward, Mayor Lindsay, and when they finally got down to the scene, my father and a few other officers that ended up responding after the 10/13s were flying in like crazy, and they had a whole bunch of suspects cuffed and up against the wall, and Lindsay and Ward came in and said uncuff them and let them go, and they let everybody go. And Philip Cardillo, to this day, still has not been spoken about and exonerated by anybody other than the men and women in blue. And it was a horrible day, and his family lives with it every day. And through the actions of a lot of people and a lot of friends like Randy Jurgensen and my father, may he rest in peace, and Timmy Motto and a bunch of other guys who never let that memory go away. And named a street in Harlem after him, after Phil Cardillo, and it was a horrible, horrible day. And what's going on now out there on the streets with this idiot De Blasio just brings me back to that day. I could have lost my father on that day, and we could have lost Randy on that day, and very, very, very serious violence that happened. But very, very serious lack of protection for the officers in blue by the mayor of New York City and the police commissioner at that time. Terrible day. But 10/13, and also 10/4, which was a couple of weeks ago, obviously. I always call that First Responders Day, because 10/4, as you know or should know, in the military, in the service, in all police jargon throughout the country and the world, 10/4 is radio jargon for acknowledge and understood and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, 10/13, that's today's date. And I will always attribute that to all the NYPD officers, but especially Phil Cardillo. So, and Daddio wrote a book about it called Murder at the Harlem Mosque, of which I took the book and I transcribed it into a script that unfortunately at the time politics got involved, and it never got made. And since then, Randy Jurgensen had wrote his own book, Circle of Six, and I was looking to do some kind of a special or a film on that, and that's also been put on hold now, because politically it quote unquote is inflammatory and not the right time for that. So for everybody that doesn't think politics rule this world, they rule this world. The almighty dollar also rules this world. But anyway, so we are finally experiencing, and I don't mean finally like I look forward to it, but in a way I do. I used to be able to walk out and in the middle of winter, in dead January and February, in just a suit and do what I got to do. Now, my God, and the water isn't hot enough in the shower. As soon as the breeze comes through, I'm throwing sweaters on, and what the hell? I'm not happy with it. But yeah, a little nice and chilly the past couple of days, and especially here on the island of Long, the rain certainly killed all the humidity, which is nice, but brought the temperatures down into the 50s. And when you think about it, okay, 50s ain't that bad. But for some reason, for me, it is. I can't explain it. I don't want to say what everybody keeps telling me, because then I might have to hurt somebody. And I definitely don't want to do that. All right, I'll say it because I'm getting old. All right. So this morning, got up and, did a couple of things, got ready, went to meet my friend, retired lieutenant from NYPD, Ray Upton, and meet at our usual Dunkin' Donuts. And then we do the cop parking routine. One is facing one way, the other way, so the two drivers' windows face each other, and we just solved all the problems of the world like we do once a week or once every other week. Really kind of with the whole COVID thing, but especially with everything I went through, still going through with the prostate, we didn't get a chance to meet as often as we usually do, but it was good. And then today I made my appointment. This Friday, go down and see Dr. Alan Katz, the number one guy, if not in the world, for the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, to go and treat my radiation cystitis in the prostate and urethra. RESPECT. Every time I say urethra, I got to think of Aretha Franklin. And I remember a quick story that may rest in peace. My cousin Nicky won from WCBS FM, when it was the right WCBS FM. He won 2 tickets to a concert at Radio City that was honoring Stevie Wonder, and everybody was there. And Aretha Franklin came out, and she sang her behind off. But at the time, she was huge. And, Nicky, kind of like me sometimes, going after a joke sometimes doesn't realize how loud we say it. And so she comes out and she's making a speech, and now she's singing and moving across the stage. And he turns to me. Russell Simmons was sitting right behind us. And I'll save that story for another day with him and Russell Simmons. But he says to me, who's gonna do all the work after this concert is over? I said, do all what work? What are you talking about? And he goes, well, with her moving all over the stage, those high heels got to be making holes throughout the whole stage. So I kind of giggle a little bit, and trying to keep my cool. And Russell Simmons leans over and said, that's not funny. That's Aretha Franklin. I'm like, yes, sir. How'd you get in these seats anyway? He says, because we originally, they came from the radio station. So we were like in row 26. And I remember we were sitting there. I mean, there's still not a bad seat in the house in Radio City. If anybody doesn't know, in New York, in the city of New York, Radio City is a great venue. And, another place that COVID has sent, into the depths of hell. Not being able to open, not being able to get nobody in. They canceled the Christmas Spectacular so early. I think it was in April or May they canceled it, and it's just terrible. Broadway shut down and everything else, But, so Nicky gets up and he says, yeah, these seats are unacceptable. I said, no, they're fine. No, they're no good. And he gets up and he disappears. I'm like, oh, man, we're getting thrown out of here. He comes back. All right, let's go. What? Come on, let's go. I get up, and we're walking down. We get into the 6th row, right from the stage. What are you doing? Yeah, I talked to the guy. We can sit here. How could we sit here? Just be quiet and sit down. Okay. And we sat down until that happened, and then people started showing up, and it was like, all right, we got to go back to the other seat. He goes, I'm staying here. So I said, screw this. I went back to the 26th row. And I just sat there laughing to myself. I couldn't wait till he got thrown out of there. You know what? for the whole freaking concert. He didn't get thrown out of there. So he sat right in the 6th row. I sat 20 rows back, but whatever. It's always a good memory. Whenever I think of Aretha Franklin, but everybody was there, put on such a great show. Carlos Santana, he performed for about 20 minutes. It was just like, wow, it was unbelievable. Then Stevie Wonder got his award, and then he sang, I don't know, probably for a good 20 minutes. Aretha Franklin, 20 minutes. Gladys Knight and the Pips. I mean, it was just, what an unbelievable concert. And, especially to get him for nothing. Wow. For Nicky, it was for nothing. I had to take him to dinner, too, so, that cost me a couple of $100, but that's the way it always was. But he could have called 1,000,000 people. He didn't have to call me. So I was very thankful that we got to see that. And, look at the people that performed there. So many people, their whole lives never got to see them live. And they were right there. It was pretty unbelievable. Nice time, cool time. So, watching the hearings, which is so ridiculous, why it's got to be publicized, because then people aren't themselves when the camera's on them, and then you just see the line right down the middle of the screen. The Republicans are talking to her, like she's what's her name there, Mary Poppins, and the Democrats are talking to her like she's the daughter of the devil, and it's just so ridiculous. I'm talking, of course, about Amy Barrett. And let me tell you, she handled herself so well today on day one. And when they tried to trap her into certain things and what her home beliefs are and what her religious beliefs are, she did not try to battle with them about that. All she said is, we're here to talk about my nomination and my qualifications and everything else. And I have no agenda. I have no promises to anybody on either side, either party, about how I'm going to rule on things if I do get this position, which was a great, great, wonderful answer. And then, forgive me, I forget who the schmuck was, but excuse me, Miss Barrett, Judge Barrett, could you show everybody what you keep looking down at every time we ask a question? She's like, what? He goes, the piece of paper that you seem to have notes written on. And she holds up an envelope that's empty. And she turns it on both sides and looks at him like, are you serious? And put it back down. It was such a perfect moment. And not that I'm rooting for her or I'm leading to the Republicans and hate the Democrats. It has nothing to do with that. Act like a freaking human being, for Christ's sake. Okay? Ask the questions you got to ask and then go and move it on. You're trying to trap her into something like she's got notes. You got your nominee for president of the United States walking around with 4 and 5 teleprompters that he still gets wrong. And he's still telling people in public, and I'm, as I am, in this race for senator of the United States. Senator. It's like the second or third time he's done it. Senator, you're running for senator? Very good. Okay, very good. And then, then you got Pelosi trying to push this thing through to talk about the president's mental state if he's competent to stand trial. And the dummies don't understand, and they get all up in arms. How dare you say that about Donald Trump? It has nothing to do with it. She wants to push this thing through. So if by some unbelievable chance that he wins, down the road, they're going to knock him out, their own guy, and say he's not mentally competent to be president. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I only got I don't know if you heard my beep beep, but I got about 15 seconds left. So have a great Tuesday, and don't forget, do something nice for everybody out there, and we will see you tomorrow here on the podcast of Sonny the Songfather Grosso. I love yous. Ciao, ciao.